as they say in radio. Hope your week's going well for you. There's an interesting one here for us. We've been dealing with an awful lot of people who are interested in the whole relatable versus memorable mindset that we operate. And in particular, I don't know whether you follow me on Instagram or not. Put a lot of stuff up there. Why the hell don't you follow me on Instagram, for crying out loud? It's instagram.com/Niels Mahoney. What a shocker. I put up a post saying, if you were fired tomorrow, would your listeners notice it? Would they riot? Would they go absolutely mental because you're not there anymore? Or would they go, huh? And just move on to the next guy? It was kind of a rhetorical question. But it got a response. Ben Jones from Virgin Radio in the UK got in touch. Some guys from the States got in touch. Some other folks from Ireland. And then Greg James got in touch. You know, Greg James from BBC Radio 1. Now, when he gets in touch, you listen, because the guy's proven himself. I mean, he's the host of the national #1 radio show in the UK. So you kind of go, yeah, all right. What have you got to say? So Greg James said, I'm quoting him here off my Instagram. I'm actually looking at it. He said, the answer for every single presenter is they would tune into the next guy, that being your listeners. If you got fired, your listener will go, whatever, and they'll tune into the next person. He said Terry Wogan, the big hero of an awful lot of people, and a fellow Irishman. Terry Wogan said in one of his books, and he's right, knowing this keeps you sharp and grounded. That's what Greg James says. Now, I agreed with him. I said, you're absolutely right. And Terry was right. The slot always wins, right? The time slot always wins, because that's never going anywhere. If you're a radio presenter, if you're on air, a jock, a DJ, whatever you call yourself, a host, you decide what you call yourself. That's your mindset. But you are transient. That slot, so long as the radio station is alive, will always be there. Somebody had the gig before you, right? And then you come along and you got the gig. You're the new boy. You're the new girl. You're the new kid in town. And you start taking over. That's always going to be there. But it's knowing that they'll tune into the next person when you leave. That's what can help you stop being lazy on air and being a great presenter. Now, I don't like using the word lazy an awful lot because it's a bit derogatory. Kind of, there's that whole joke, lazy radio, isn't there? Oh, he's just doing lazy radio. That's, time and temp stuff. But it kind of is lazy. And one of the reasons I go on about this an awful lot is, if you follow my stuff, I talk about the difference between relatable and memorable on the radio. Being relatable and being memorable. They're two completely different things. And I'll explain them to you. They sound like they're the same, don't they? Everybody wants to be relatable. Look, every consultant you've ever met and any program director has always said, relate to your audience, live their life, talk to them about their life, feed their life back to them. When they have something going on in their life, you need to also say, hey, that happened to me too. And, you can't argue with that in itself. It makes sense. That's how we develop relationships, isn't it, with other people? We relate to them and we find out things that we have in common, things that we both like, things we both enjoy doing. Oh, you like your coffee with 1 sugar? I do too. Isn't that amazing? How do people put 2 sugars in it? I don't know. That's relatable to each other. But relatable will only get you so far. Relatable is, oh, it's raining. Isn't rain a pain? That's relatable. Everybody goes, yeah, that is. Oh, it's Monday. Don't you just hate Mondays? Well, yeah, usually they kind of suck. Oh, I nearly ran out of petrol when I'm driving into work today. Isn't it mad when you forget to fill up a petrol? Well, yeah, kind of is, yeah. And that's it. That's the response you get. You get, hey, yeah, I guess so. It's like, isn't blue a lovely colour? Yeah, so I guess so. What of it? Like, that's it. Like, literally, what of it? So what? So what if you ran out of petrol as well as me? We've done the same things. That's being relatable. Being memorable, that's a different story altogether. Can you take a relatable bit and make it so that it's suddenly memorable? And when I say memorable, I mean reaction, because everything is reaction, right? Everything you do in life when you're meeting other people is reaction. If someone says, how was your day? And you reply, yeah, it was all right. They're going to get a reaction. You're going to get that, oh, okay, fine, reaction. But if they say, how was your day? And you go, oh my God, wait till I tell you about my day. Oh my God, have you ever had a day where you everything just goes wrong for you? All of a sudden, we're in. We're in a little bit more because you've created something a bit more, with a bit more emotion in it. And that's what memorable is. It's just creating an emotion. The relatable creates that visual. And the memorable creates the emotion to go with the visual. It's the moment that then develops into the moment. And that's what you're going for. You're going for the moment because that's what makes you memorable. Now, why do you want to be memorable? Why can't you just do the time and temp, read the liner card, forward sell, Dua Lipa and get out of there? Well, you can. Of course you can. You can do that. You can do anything you like if you want to. But memorable gets you noticed. And you're on the radio. People can't hear you. You know when you turn that microphone on, other people can hear you. I know. Bizarre, isn't it? You're not there to be ignored. You're there to get noticed. That's why you're there. Being relatable will get you being memorable will get you noticed. And when you're noticed, people look for you again. When you see something that's interesting, you look for it again. When you see something that's not very interesting, you're not really bothered if you ever see it again. Why would you be? It's, well, whatever. It wasn't that great after all. But if you see something or you hear something or you smell something or you taste something really different and really interesting, then you'll go, I wouldn't mind that again. That great dinner that you had in that lovely restaurant that you had that you talk about one day going back to. Oh, we should go back to that restaurant. Do you remember that restaurant? Oh, we should go back there. You're not actually saying that about McDonald's. You're just kind of going, yeah, whatever. It's a Big Mac. So what? Yeah, well, maybe you are. Maybe you are addicted to Big Macs. Well, the burgers are available, obviously. So taking relatable and making it memorable is a big way to get yourself noticed. But it creates another thing for you as an individual. See, all these things help your radio station, right? If you're doing really well, then you hopefully, in theory, will go up in ratings or get more listeners or get more profile and they might get more advertising. This all helps the radio station. That's nice for them. That's great. It's also good for you because while you're there, it means you're building up equity inside the station. You're building up a brand for the station. But what about you? What does it do for you? We've all been in this situation where we've had our talents and our ambitions questioned by decisions made by management. I'm being very polite here. What I'm basically saying is we're all scared shitless that one day we might get fired. And we've all been in that position. And if you haven't, you will be. That position where you're doing your gig, right? You're on the air, you're doing your gig. You think you're doing the best you can. But also in the back of your mind, there's ratings are going to be coming in. That's going to happen soon. I've heard there's some layoffs happening around this company. They own 15 different stations and some people are starting to say they're letting people go. Am I going to be one of them? That is always there. That scarcity and that fear mindset is always there. And so long as you're doing what the station wants, they own that. They own you. They own your brand because you haven't got a fixed brand in place yet. You've got their brand in place. Now, I know you got to read your liner cards and you got to do your formattic stuff. I get all that. Look, I'm 30 years behind the mic. I get it. I know how it works. But you know that little bit in the show where you get a chance to do your own thing, where it says personality break or it says, jock piece or whatever it is they call it, where you can freestyle for a bit. You know that bit? Yeah, that's where you make your brand. That's where you own you. And that's where you create. That's the bit in the hour. Even if you only get one break an hour where you do that, that's the bit that you prep the most. That's the bit that you work on the most because that's the bit that's really, really you. Now, even if there's a liner, you can still add to liners. You can still add your own personality to liners. You can still go, I can make this better. There's nothing worse than people reading a liner card. Jeez, how many times have you listened to somebody on the radio and you just start screaming at you going, you're reading the liner card. Why are you reading the card? Talk to me. Talk to me. Because that's what your listener feels, whether they know it or not. We're hardwired to understand when people are reading. When you read a liner card or anything on the air, you're not talking to the listener anymore. You're talking to yourself. And also you're reading words that somebody else wrote. They're not your words. So you're reading someone else's words to yourself. I mean, of course the listener drops off. Of course they're not going to pay attention to you because you've taken them out of the situation, of the scenario entirely. They're not even in it. So why would they listen to you if you're reading a liner card? So when you have a liner card, say there's that holiday giveaway to Barbados that the station is doing, don't go, hey, how do you fancy winning a holiday to Barbados? Imagine you and your loved one on the beach for 2 whole weeks or 1 whole week or 10 days, sipping margaritas by the pool. Can't you see it now? All this crap that you hear people do. It's just so easy to do. And that's the problem. It's so easy to do this. But when something's easy, it's also easy to ignore. It's very easy to ignore. It's very easy for McDonald's to whip together a Big Mac and hand it to you. You go, there you go, there's Big Mac. Whatever. Want some fries with that? Yeah, please. There you go, fries. Very difficult to make an award-winning dinner in a top-class restaurant. That's not easy. And they're the ones you keep going back to in your mind. They're the ones you go, wow, I'd love to go back there. No one ever says, oh, imagine if we could one day go back to McDonald's and get a Big Mac. Wow. That'd be amazing. Nobody says that. So the easy stuff won't serve you. So if you have a liner card or anything, even if it's the weather, you can make that memorable. You can make anything memorable. And the reason you do that, obviously, number 1 is for your show. So your show sounds good. Number 2 is for you, so that you're memorable. When you're memorable, you build an audience, you build loyalty, you build people that listen to you and not the radio station. They listen to you. That's really what you want, isn't it? I mean, nowadays people will say, well, who's going to listen to me? It's all about, podcasts, and it's all about TikTok, and it's all about Instagram. Well, it's not all about it, but yeah, there's a massive amount of it. You know this because you're doing all those things yourself. You're on TikTok and Instagram and all the other guys. You're on those already. But it's not all about that. It's all about you building your brand. Let's call you a brand, right? Okay. Let's say right now, instead of the radio station owning you, that you are using their platform to create your brand. Does that sit a little differently with you? You're using their microphone and their $1 million, €1 million, £1 million setup to broadcast your brand. Do you realize how many people who are online would kill to have what you have behind that microphone? Now, I know people say as well that nowadays it's full of Instagram influencers and TikTok influencers. That's what radio's become nowadays. Well, of course it has, because they know the power of it. They know the power of that microphone, that silver thing in front of you. They know the power of that, and that they can harness an audience, and they're experts at it. These guys who are coming from social media are experts in harnessing an audience. Part of the situation with radio people is we've already inherited an audience. You know that when you start your job, right, and you're in your first day, your first week, it's not a case of there's 0 listeners. They're there already. They're there. They're listening to the station. They're already there. You've inherited an audience. You already have them. All you can do is either build that or lose that. But you've inherited them as opposed to an influencer or somebody on TikTok or Instagram who has to build from 0. If you've ever built an account online, you know what that's like. You open up your account, you got no followers. You got to start working it. You got to start following other people. You got to start doing whatever these expert gurus tell you to do. So when a consultant tells you, this is how you do radio, this is how you should structure your links and whatever, they're doing it for the good of the radio station. They're not doing it for your good. They're doing it for the good of the radio station, because you can be fired tomorrow. And that's the one fear we've all got. Eventually, you will always have that fear at some point. Ask anybody. I know one guy, and he's been waiting to be fired for the past 20 years from his shift. Now, he's still on the same shift. It hasn't moved. Well, it's moved a couple of hours, but, it's the same afternoon shift. He was 20 years, he's been saying, well, when they fire my ass, this is going to happen. He's still there. So even somebody who's as solid as that still has that niggling feeling that something could happen. I could get fired one day. It's the scarcity and fear mindset. And it's been brought to us in a lot of ways because, well, it suits the radio station. And it suits consultants as well, because they can work on that. They can get you to do what they want, right? I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm just saying this is the way it works. Everybody's trying to survive. You're trying to survive. So is the PD. So is the CEO. So is the consultant. They're all trying to survive. In order for something to survive, something else has to suffer. That's just the way the world works. Look at nature. Do you ever see those nature documentaries? You got the lion and the tiger chasing a little animal. Yeah, they're surviving because they're eating. The little animal, not having such a great time about it all anymore, because they're the one getting eaten. And basically what's happening is the radio station and the industry is eating your talent in order so that it survives. But if you can harness what you do and slowly sneak that in. Layoffs happen, format changes, ratings can be up and down. And if you're feeling that pressure of that, though, here's the great thing that I love about you as a radio presenter. It means you care. If you're feeling that pressure, if you're worried about ratings and layoffs and format changes, what happens if they go all dance or all swing or all old country favourites from the 90s? What happens to me? It means you care about what you're doing, but that fear can sometimes make you play safe. And that's when safe comes in, because you're afraid to do anything different. If I do something different, then they might not like it and they might let me go. So you go safe radio mode. You turn into that mode. Turn on safe radio mode. It's the fastest way to get replaced, because now you sound the same as everybody else. So if I replace you with somebody else, it's not really going to make much of a difference, because you didn't really do anything that made you stand out. And this new person I've hired is the same. Like a lot of jocks I know, a lot of presenters look at their show, say you're doing 3 hours, they look at it as just something to get through, isn't it? It's just, I'll get through the 3 hours, try not to screw it up as best I can and get out of here. See, the thing is, you own the time slot right now. And this is what I was trying to get across when Greg James messaged. You own the time slot. The slot will be there, but right now it's yours. It's nobody else's, it's yours. Not next year, not like last year, it's today. That is yours. So the question is to you, what are you going to do with those hours when you're on the air that make you indispensable to the listener? Safe radio is forgettable radio, right? You're not going to be remembered if you're just playing it safe. Hey, how you doing out there today? Hope everything's going well for you. It's a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Might get some showers later on. Make sure you take the umbrella with you. And looking ahead to the evening, it should clear up a little bit, which is good news if you're going out on the boat race today. Good for that, and enjoy yourself. Here's Dua Lipa. You know, that's just safe radio. I got bored myself even talking about that. So what you want to do is you want to build what we'll call a portable asset. I know that sounds like real AI speak, but you have to call it something. It's your new approach. So if the worst case scenario happens to you and you let go, what do you take out the door with you? I've been in this position. I've been let go that day. Hey, now let's have a quick chat. Hey, yeah, of course you can. Dumbo here walks into the office. Hey, yeah, what's going on? You're fired. Right. Okay. So you take your stuff with you and you walk out the door. But if you have a plan ahead of that time, and if you've started to make yourself a little bit of a memorable personality, then there's a good chance what you take out the door is more than just what you brought in, i.e. the physical things. If you just read liner cards, you leave with nothing. You're just left with a demo tape of you full of liner card reads. If you build a community, right? If you build a core of listeners who tune in because they get something out of you. There's something about you. I don't know what it is about that person. There's something about them that I really like. They're funny, they're mad, they're crazy, whatever it is that you do. If you can have that leave the building with you, then what you then have is the potential to build up a podcast following or an audio book following or something, because the audience likes you already. Not the station. They like the station, but they particularly like you. There's the question again. If you got fired tomorrow, would your audience follow you? One of the people who answered the question in the States said, yeah, will they follow you to the next platform? And that's a great point. Just say you go, well, you tell you what, I want to go and do a podcast. Will your audience follow you there? So every time you turn on the mic, you're not just filling time for the station, you're building your personal portfolio. If they flip station flips format tomorrow, your legacy and your connection to the audience, that's your insurance policy to help you get the next gig. That's what you're basing everything on, is what you're doing now. I think it was Tony Robbins said, life happens for you, not to you. And that's a very good way of putting it. Okay, it looks like a good meme that you can put up there. Hey, everybody, life happens for you, not to you. But sometimes these things are true. And I think that's one of those things that is true. So what you need to ask yourself is, how can you use your next shift to build your show so that it's framed around you, that it's unmistakably you? What can you do? What can you do to make sure that it's unmistakably you? I'm going to leave you with two mindsets. The old mindset was, I'm an employee of XYZ FM, and if I don't screw up, they'll keep paying me. That was the mindset, right? The new mindset is, I'm whatever your name is. I think you might know what your name is. Anyway, I'm whatever your name is. XYZ FM is currently my broadcast partner and my distribution channel. Listen to this. My distribution channel. And I'm going to use their transmitter and their microphones to build my audience. You ever thought of your radio station that hired you as your distribution channel? It's different, isn't it? It's a different way of thinking about things. It's daily free access to a multi-million pound, dollar, euro megaphone that you have right there. And my one challenge for you this week is to start looking at how you can make your show memorable, how you can make you memorable, and how you can take your show and your memorable personality with you and take that audience with you. If your station flipped format tomorrow, how many listeners would actually look for you on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, or wherever it is you're going to go? And with that, I shall say toodle pip, and hey, hope you have a lovely week.